So we're here at the Open Cities Conference here in Washington, D.C., and talking with you, sir. Who are you?
My name is Wolf Ruzicka. I run a software development company called Eastbank Technologies.
Okay. And what does East Bank Technologies do?
We're software developers, but what we now present is the public transit development community, the PTDC. It's a community of internal and external developers that are very eager to work on public transit data, both static and real-time data.
And I understand that you're working on static and real-time data here in Washington?
It is in Washington, D.C. right now, but the platform is a unified platform that allows new transit agencies to simply plug into this framework at very, very small time frames and with minimal cost to take advantage of all these applications that are being developed by these developers on top of our infrastructure that's hosted in the cloud.
Okay. So how does it take advantage of the applications? What's the opportunity there?
The opportunity for a developer is that let's assume that you have two cities providing information data. So it could be Houston and Washington, D.C. If you're a developer in Houston and you develop an application on top of the Houston data within our framework, it will automatically pick up the Washington, D.C. data so that if somebody from Houston or somebody within Washington, D.C. brings up your application, it will know where it is and it will take advantage of that data just as much as it would take care of pointing you into the right direction and saving you time in Houston, Texas.
So what are the advantages for cities in this scenario?
Cities have the benefit now to become more efficient as far as let me rephrase that. Yeah, within any given metropolitan area, you have a multitude of transportation options. You may have a private bus company providing just a one simple route from one place to another. You do, of course, have the mega transportation providers like an MTA in New York City or a WMATA in Washington, D.C., and a multitude in between. And the cities themselves will be able to bring all of them together and make the small ones discoverable just as much as the big ones, which right now just simply doesn't happen. So as one concrete example, here in Washington, D.C., you have a Loudoun County public transportation system. It's one bus, and it brings people from Loudoun County to the FAA in downtown Washington, D.C. Up until our system made sure that I understood what kind of transportation options I had, I didn't even realize that they are driving right in front of my bus, and I could just simply hop on, and instead of taking multiple transit agencies or just simply WMATA only, I could cut my commute from my office location to the FAA by probably 20-30%.
So that's a compelling value proposition for municipal governments potentially. And it sounds like there's one in there for readers and for riders specifically. Often readers and riders are the same people when they're on public transit.
Probably, yes.
These days they're writing and reading their smartphones, which is where a lot of its applications are. With respect to people who have normal cell phones, are there benefits for them in here too?
Well, everything is open sourced that we created as far as the applications that should help developers jumpstart their own development. And these developers are extremely creative in as far as taking advantage of existing architectures and pieces of software. So I expect that some of those developers will work out a way of interacting with riders. I almost also said readers, riders that do not have a smartphone. At the same time, this API, this application programming interface that we're providing, can be hijacked, if you will, by anybody else that may want to create just simply an SMS messaging system that takes advantage of the ongoing real-time and static data that sits within that unified cloud of previous silos that are now unified.
So if we watch this growth of open data around the country, you can certainly see it at the federal level, but in some ways, the municipal data story is very interesting. And different cities, notably, as you said, New York or Boston or San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, are releasing transit data, in many cases real-time transit data. What kind of economic opportunity is there for developers to work with your open source framework or others right as things stand?
Well, first of all, a very simple, very tangible first advantage for any application developer to jump into our community and join the community is that we launched an external development competition, so you can immediately earn the prize money that we're giving out to the developers that join us. Okay. But of course, with that framework, we integrated a few interesting data points. So as one example, the algorithms allow for your application to be able to determine if there is enough time for any one of the riders as they transit from, say, a bus to a metro or a subway, or from one bus line to another bus line, if there is enough time based on the preferences of that individual rider to quickly go and grab a cup of coffee, or go and see a monument here in Washington, D.C. And as these coffee shops or other non-transit related entities want to increase their traffic into their locations, there is a very good advertising opportunity that the application programming interface right away takes advantage of, and the developer can then display, say, advertisements or pointers in the right direction in exchange for revenue coming from those entities that get displayed among that data.
Now, for developers who want to learn more, where can they go online?
They would go to, first of all, to eastbanktech.com. They could, for sure, get the most detail of information on commuterapi.com. That's
Okay.
commuterapi.com.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing the applications coming to my nearest metro station.
Thank you, Alex.
All right.